Whoo, grab your tea because this one is messy. Rapper Nelly just revealed the real reason he and Ashanti tied the knot, and let's just say, fans are not impressed. During an interview on the Bootleg Kev podcast, Nelly made a confession that instantly sent the internet into a frenzy. Once we found out she was pregnant, I didn't want her to be a baby mama. Wait, what? Not because he's madly in love, not because he couldn't imagine life without her, but because he didn't want her to be a baby mama? Social media immediately erupted. This is giving I settled because I had to energy. Ashanti deserves more than a might as well proposal. Why is it only now that marriage is on the table? What about his first baby mama? What about Ms. Jackson? And that, my friends, is the million-dollar question. The backstory you need to know. Nelly and Ashanti's love story is straight out of a soap opera, except instead of roses and romance, it's filled with breakups, makeups, and a whole lot of confusion. They first got together in the early 2000s, becoming one of the hottest couples in music, from chart-topping collaborations like Body on Me to red carpet appearances that had the world convinced they were soulmates. These two were IT. But then, they broke up. And not just any breakup, this was ugly. Ashanti later admitted in an interview that she felt betrayed by Nelly. She never went into specifics, but rumors swirled about cheating and commitment issues on Nelly's part. For years, they stayed apart. Ashanti focused on her career, business ventures, and self-growth. Meanwhile, Nelly moved on and dated Shantel Jackson for 7 years, but never proposed to her either. She had made it very clear that she wanted a child, and for a long time, that was one of the sore topics in their relationship. But all Nelly had were excuses. He just wouldn't give her that. And then they broke up, which was not surprising at all. Then in 2023, fans were shocked when Ashanti and Nelly got back together. Their love had been reignited and things moved fast. By early 2024, Ashanti was pregnant, and then suddenly, marriage. Are you guys able to keep up? The might as well proposal? The problem isn't that Nelly proposed, it's the way he described it. We hadn't talked about marriage yet, but I was like, yo, let's just knock this out. We knew where we were in life. Things were moving fast. Let's just knock this out? Not exactly the words of a man who spent his life dreaming about this moment. Fans are divided. Some think he did the right thing by stepping up, while others feel like this was a forced decision rather than one rooted in love. Because let's be real, if marriage was always on the table, why didn't he propose before the pregnancy? And more importantly, why didn't he marry Ms. Jackson after 7 years of dating? The Ms. Jackson situation. 7 years, no ring, no kids. Sorry guys, forgive me. I just have to revisit this. This is where things get even more interesting. Before Ashanti, Nelly was in a serious relationship with Shantel Jackson. If you don't know her, it's the same Shantel who was once engaged to Floyd Mayweather before moving on with Nelly. She was ride or die for him. She supported his career, appeared on his reality show, Nellyville, and was even there for him through personal and legal troubles. For 7 whole years, fans believed they would get married, but they never did. In fact, Nelly barely even talked about marriage with her. Ms. Jackson later revealed on The Real that they split because they didn't see eye to eye on marriage and kids. But if that's really the case, then why did Ashanti get a ring immediately once she got pregnant? Why wasn't Ms. Jackson wife material? But Ashanti is? This is where the real side-eyeing begins. Nelly never thought marriage was necessary before, so what changed? Was it really love? Or was he just trying to avoid the bad PR of making another woman a baby mama? Some fans believe that because Ashanti is a high-profile celebrity, her being an unwed mother would have made Nelly look bad. And let's not ignore the other woman in this conversation, the mother of Nelly's first 2 kids. How does she feel hearing this? That marriage was never an option for her, but suddenly, Ashanti, once pregnant, gets a ring. At the end of the day, this moment exposes a bigger issue in relationships. The bigger issue. Commitment on a man's timeline. Let's talk about why this situation feels off. Why do some men only commit when a baby is involved? Why do women have to wait their turn for a ring? Why does marriage seem like an obligation instead of a desire? For years, Nelly had no problem dating beautiful, successful women without marriage. But the second Ashanti got pregnant, he suddenly decided he was ready. This isn't just about Nelly and Ashanti. This is about how society treats marriage and commitment. Women are expected to be wives in waiting until a man decides he's ready. Marriage is treated like a duty instead of a choice. And some men only propose when it's the socially acceptable thing to do. This moment is a perfect example of that dynamic. Did Ashanti just checkmate Nelly? Let's be clear. Ashanti is a queen. She's not just another celebrity girlfriend. She's an R&B icon, a Grammy-winning artist, a business mogul, and one of the most respected women in the industry. She's not someone who was waiting around for a man to give her validation. She built her own empire, navigated the music industry on her own terms, and never let a relationship define her worth. That's why this situation has so many people talking, because let's be honest, if Nelly hadn't stepped up, Ashanti would have been just fine. She's financially stable, emotionally mature, and fully capable of raising this baby on her own terms. And the truth is, she wouldn't have been the first woman to do so. Ashanti's pregnancy wasn't some desperate attempt to lock a man down. She's in her 40s, at the peak of her success, and fully in control of her choices. If anything, Nelly needed to lock her down, not the other way around. Because if we're being real, Ashanti had plenty of options. She could have co-parented without marriage. She's independent, financially secure, and doesn't need a man to complete her. She could have dated someone else. Ashanti isn't the type to struggle finding love. She's been linked to high-profile men before. She could have focused on herself and her child. She's already a boss, and a baby wouldn't have slowed her down. But Nelly, his options weren't as wide open. He's in his late 40s, with a history of avoiding commitment. He's been in long-term relationships before, but never put a ring on it. So, was this really Nelly taking the next step in love? Or was this him realizing that Ashanti was a once-in-a-lifetime woman he couldn't afford to lose? Nelly's weak justification: she brings more good than bad. Let's talk about Nelly's reasoning here. When asked why he decided to marry Ashanti, he said, "She brings more good to my life than bad. That's a good enough reason to settle down." Excuse me, sir? What? That's not exactly the heart-melting declaration of love we were hoping for. This isn't a romantic, once-in-a-lifetime love story where a man is so overwhelmed by his feelings that he just has to marry his soulmate. This sounds like he did the math and figured marriage was the best option. It's giving, well, things are going well, so why not? I guess it makes sense at this point in my life. Sir, where is the devotion, the passion, the love? Compare this to how some men talk about marriage. I can't imagine life without her. She's my best friend, my soulmate, my everything. The moment I met her, I knew she was the one. But instead, Nelly gave us "she brings more good than bad," like he's talking about a business investment instead of the love of his life. And that's why fans are side-eyeing him so hard. Look, we're happy for Ashanti. She's glowing, she's thriving, and she deserves the best. But let's not act like this is some fairy tale love story where the prince sweeps the princess off her feet in a grand romantic gesture. Because true love doesn't sound like, "let's just knock this out." I didn't want her to be a baby mama. Things were moving fast. Where's the deep, undeniable connection that makes marriage feel like an obvious next step? A commitment like this should be based on love, not convenience. Ladies, never settle for a "might as well" ring. If a man isn't marrying you because he truly can't imagine life without you, then is it really love? What do you think? Did Nelly do the right thing by stepping up? If you agree that love should be a choice, not an obligation, subscribe to the channel.